Hard to Kill back in the building, episode 200. I named it this time. We're charged up. We got Bobo and we got Joseph Malone in here. Guys, if you could introduce yourselves real quick for
Yeah, man. Joe Malone, former MARSOC Marine. I run JM training where we're training people how to use guns for the greater good, essentially, out here in the Chicagoland area. Yeah, you've come a long way, dude. Episode 200 and what?
just 200. I rounded up.
Dang,
I was at
dang.
I was at like 170, 180, so I figured we'd bump it up to 200 for
It's been cool to see how far you come, dude.
appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bobo here, co-host, shit talker extraordinaire. Can't Nick
Barracks
knocks him
rat.
up. Nick sets him up, and I just can ramble on. But yeah, uh, former infantry mortarman, 0341 with 1-1 out of Camp Pendleton, Camp Horno. 4 years active with 1-1, 3 years inactive with 224 weapons. Uh, Current dad, plumber, and tired guy here in the Chicagoland area. So
Love it. Love it. The dream team. I like it. So we're doing something different this episode, guys. I'm a big proponent of letting shit flow and being genuine and I don't know, I tried, plotting stuff out and pre-planning pods, but it always didn't work because I'd like get stuck on topics. It wouldn't flow. I'd try to podcast. I'd in my head think I had to podcast and it wasn't coming naturally.
yeah,
So I normally wouldn't pre-plan stuff, but dude, I mean, let's be real. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and
Yeah.
coming from the background that we come in, we have the foresight or the knowledge, if you will, of knowing certain things and understanding patterns when we see them and knowing what they mean and this
the
means
burden of knowledge, the burden of experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so, I have a kind of like a, syllabus that I'm going to stick by. I'm going to bring up topics, and we're going to try to paint a picture for the audience of something that, I believe I've been trying to say for a long time. I know you guys have, your own opinions on what's going on in the world, and I'd love to, and I think that's great because it's going to come from different perspectives, different outlooks, and the whole goal is to come off unbiased and, just genuine. We have no ill will towards any race. We're just trying to be, at the end of the day, we're trying to bring truth. And, I didn't think of that when I started this podcast, but, given the current climate of the world, the truth is a rare commodity. And
And
if
Nick, I'll kind of caveat off that. When you kind of first interviewed me and then brought me on this pod, I I kind of saw this as the Barracks podcast. Now that could be anything. That could be interviewing what we've done. We've interviewed veteran comedians.
Yep.
Get some guys in here, have some jokes, have some laughs. You know, you do that in the barracks. In the barracks, you have some beers and talk some bullshit. And that bullshit can be,
All you
times you
do.
got arrested out on, yeah,
Yeah.
times you got arrested out on town, the fights you've gotten in, the girls or guys or whatever you're into, you've been
Yep.
with.
Yep. Yep.
And then also in the barracks, you have heated, whether it's political discussions,
Yep.
whether it's music discussions on what music is superior, but you like you said, you want to bring some truth to it, and that isn't foreign to the barracks.
Yes.
This is the Barracks podcast. So this is that episode. This is that episode where we're not talking about which titty bar is the best, which we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
But this is the podcast about there's some shit going down,
Yeah.
and then yeah, we're not the ones that are going to be pulling the triggers this time.
No.
But that doesn't mean we don't have skin in the game in some form.
I
So
think I
yeah,
think we
that
I
this is
think we
just a
almost
continuation
I think we
of
almost
the
have a
barracks.
duty. We're not pulling triggers now, but we almost have a duty of trying to, because I think one thing as veterans that gets us upset when it comes to politics is the populace doesn't understand what's happening in front of them, and it's aggravating for us
Yeah.
because we see it and we get labeled as conspiracy nuts or guys that's just rambling on, but they just don't understand it. And we almost have a duty of trying to explain it now because it's getting dangerous. And I think that's what we can do here. Now, how do you feel about this, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, Um, Life is crazy,
Yeah,
and I think it's very easy to. I feel like we as humans, for some reason, have a drive to overcomplicate things. And I need to kind of like our discussion earlier, man. I mean, with the changes that I've gone through in my life and the experiences that I've endured, everybody, of course, is different and they're entitled to their own ways. But for me, I really need to live in this world of simplicity because even the most simplistic form of living in our modern society is very complex.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it
Well
drives
said.
everybody fucking nuts all day long. It's like crazy how we're all just running around crazy because of the conditioning that is taking place.
Well said.
So, I just always keep reminding myself, and you'll hear me say this consistently as I guess a theme throughout my life, not just here today, but ultimately, who's responsible for what happens to you, whether the world is doing perfectly fine or whether the world is falling the fuck apart and burning down, who's responsible for you and who's responsible for your fucking family?
I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. So okay, so I'm gonna kick this off with I think I started to think how to formulate this because the information's out there. The information's out there, and the problem is it's just not being explained, articulated, and brought to the people in a way so it can be understood. Now,
What are you talking about?
everybody learns differently, and everybody, picks up on things differently. Something that I've realized that is an asset to myself is I can identify patterns. And
Mm.
So guess like what you're saying is the news, even coming from unbiased things like real news, no bullshit, or all these different Instagram news reels where they're not like left or right leaning, they pretty much give it to you. There's a lot of information going.
Mhm.
So I think what you're trying to articulate is we're trying to give it context,
Yep.
and our context we can give it is through veterans and combat veterans point of view, people who have been on boots on deck, frankly, in a neighboring country.
Yep.
Joe, are you an Afghan or Iraq vet or
Yeah, both.
both? Okay, so
Yeah.
he's flanked the country. Nick,
Never
Yep.
thought about that.
yeah, you've got them surrounded,
Yep.
but yeah, we're Afghan vets, so like
No, you're
we
absolutely right. Absolutely right, Bob.
so we can give it context. So
And that's the
um,
problem. There's layers to this stuff.
yeah,
And,
Oh,
and
dude.
I think we have a duty of explaining these layers the way that we've seen, and we've all got to look behind the curtain. And I think the three of us can all agree on one thing. At what point did we identify that something was wrong? Now that's subjective. When I say something wrong that could mean a thousand different things. And I'm going to tell you
yeah,
what I mean by something wrong. When I grew up, I believed in, my dad's a hard Republican, and I believed everything he told me. Fox News was on all the time, and we ate that shit up. Okay.
yeah,
And I believed, the news couldn't lie, and why would they lie, and what would be the point of lying, and the normal human being, you know. So I think the first time I realized something was just off was actually in country in Afghanistan in a chow hall watching the news that was being presented to the civilians and talking to my father what he was hearing and what I was doing on the front lines
yeah.
was completely and utterly opposite things. And that
What
is
was the disparity? What was the news saying?
it was just basically saying at the time it was saying, hey, no Marines were dying in combat, and a friend of mine had just died the day before.
Yeah.
And the thing that the reason it rang bells in me is because it hit emotions, and it was like, this is not, it wasn't right. It turned, it was a, I don't know why, but it just opened my mind up to view things differently. And that's what I think, and I hope my viewers can do, is just keep an open mind to this episode and listen to what we're trying to explain. So can you guys understand what I'm saying when I say I recognize something was wrong? Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Did you
How
have
old were
similar
you?
experiences? Like when was it that you maybe transition to the mindset of, oh shit, maybe I should be looking at everything through a different lens?
Um, how old were you when you had that experience?
Let's say I was a fresh 20.
Cool. So that I think is also really important to keep in mind because how old are you now?
I am 35.
So 15 years ago is when you had this realization.
Are you gonna say it like that?
So, it's oh, it's crazy, right? I
I
know.
know.
I was telling a story a few days ago. I was like, man, it's been 9. I said 5 years when I was in Syria. I was like, man, it's been 9.
Jesus.
Um, but anyways, I think that it's important to realize too that as people do get exposed to this information, there was a period of time that it took for you to mature
Absolutely.
to come to that and have experiences, shitty ones, I'm assuming. To be like, wow, like you almost have to get like knocked in the head.
Absolutely.
And that's not privy to just you or to Bob or to me. That is just the human condition. And so I just think that we should also, be sensitive to that because it's like, dude, we could be saying some things to some people and they still just like don't get it. It's not that they don't
Yep.
get it, it's that they just haven't had that experience in
Exactly.
life yet, which we're trying to help you avoid,
Yep.
essentially, is what,
Absolutely.
the point of the conversation is. But anyway, for me, it was man, it was my second Afghan deployment, 2014, and I was kind of told to fake a report.
Yep.
I was the lead mentor for the Afghan force.
Hmm.
I was supposed to write a sit rep on like how they were performing, and I was like, these guys suck. I was like, everything sucks. These guys suck. These guys tried to murder somebody a few days ago. Like these guys are fucking doing whatever. They're stealing gas. They're not doing anything whatsoever. And then it's gonna be Ramadan now, so
Yep.
operations are done. I got yelled at so bad for that. I got my ass chewed out, man, so hard.
Was it because
But
you weren't touting the narrative?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, because they were like, look at the last scores that these guys had. You take over, now they suck. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous.
We can't check in the box anymore. Yeah.
The fact that that would even be brought. I'm so incompetent that this is what I did. I took an elite fighting force, me, Joe, and I made these fucks. Like, why is
What were
this?
you doing? Were you giving them nothing like nonstop hand jobs to where they didn't want to leave the patrol base anymore? Like,
Dude, I don't know. Like it was just because it didn't fit the narrative and the captain wasn't, satisfied and the commander wasn't satisfied. It's just like,
you were hurting their career potentials.
well, yeah, because I was telling the truth. And that's when I started to realize I was like, oh my God, dude, like there's a lot of this going on for a long time. This is
It's
hopeless.
it's fun. It's funny you say that because I mean, it's not funny. It's depressing. But um, that's when Afghans started collapsing in 21. All of us who had actually been there on the ground weren't surprised because the entire war basically it was the big game of upward telephone of whitewashing things to make things seem better because
Yes.
your boss calls you at work, hey, how's it going on the job? And even if it's not going too bad, you always say, oh, it's going good.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't tell them like, ah, fuck, like I broke a fitting and I had to like redo what I just did. No, you just say, it's
Yeah.
not too bad.
But
So
when Bobby was jerking off in the back room and then slipped and then killed a little girl that was coming in to go take a piss, you report that shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
like there's a
So
degree where,
so the game of telephone went up and things got brushed under the rug to make it look good for promotion
Yep.
reasons and career reasons. So that when Afghan collapsed, people were like, oh, we thought this fighting force was so much better. It's like, well, no,
No.
because it went through 7 layers of bullshit before it got up to the highest levels. And the highest levels, you know, I try to be fair. And the highest levels were like, hey, you guys told us they were good. And it's like, well, no, the guy on the ground actually handling them said they weren't good. And all the filters fucked us over. So that being said, I guess real quick, I was lucky enough to I was an Afghan in 2012 and I had a relatively good unit I was with at. I was outside of Marja and Awa and Helmand. And we at the patrol base I was at, we had a good group of guys. They for the most part gave a shit. They were on their P's and Q's, and they had a good officer. They had a good
the
captain
Afghans.
running. Yeah, the Afghan. We had a Afghan commando
Oh,
um, Kandak that we
nice.
were fucking attached to, and these guys gave a shit. And
They
yeah, they
care.
had a shit
There were
bagger.
some good ones. There's
Yep.
some good
And
ones.
yeah, yeah, especially like in the army. Now, if you got the police and whatnot, they tended to be dog shit. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
police were shady.
yeah, so we had some good guys that gave a shit. But fast forward to I'm off active duty. I think it's I don't know 2015, 16, 17 or something. I was talking to my old lieutenant who did his best to stay in touch with the old Afghan officer and attachments, and he basically told me that you know the Americans had mostly pulled out of the area they were operating out of, and that Kandak that we were attached to were in a firefight or on a mission or something. They got cut off, surrounded. The big Afghan army basically abandoned them, and they ran out of ammo. And they all got basically fucking executed in a
Yep.
canal trench line.
Same as ours.
And that's when I basically kind of lost my last shred of hope that like this, something could have been pulled out of this war.
Mm-hmm.
Whether we quote unquote won or not, that's kind of when I lost my faith, so to speak.
Okay, so
And
let me try to ask you it differently. What I'm trying to ask you is, and I understand how you just explained that, and you're kind of there. What I'm trying to ask you is, when did you get out of that mindset of, fuck whoever, I'm a Marine, I don't give a fuck, I'm putting them all down,
the
America
the
first.
programming,
Yes.
I
Yep.
called the programming. So my boss is Navy. He was he was in one of the fucking ships that had a boiler or some shit still. So he's
Gotcha.
10 years older than me. But whenever I talk about Marine Corps shit, I say, oh shit, sorry, that's my programming. So when did I drop my programming? Um, I think honestly it was kind of the same moment. That's when I became disillusioned of, fuck, kill the enemy,
Yep.
rah rah, all of the boot camp trainings that are essential to molding a young 18-year-old mind. But that's when I dropped that because it was, oh, the mission that we fought for, making the Afghans fight for themselves and stand up on their own and helping them. Oh, those good dudes that I knew personally and gave a shit about. I played volleyball with them at our patrol base.
Mhm.
We ate our Ramadan feast with
You
them. We lived
connected.
with
Yep.
them,
Yep.
connected with them on a human level, not just like, oh, we're pulling
Which is
trigger
so
together.
different because we're Americans and they can't even speak
Yeah,
English. Like, I mean,
yeah, but they would make sure we ate first. They took care of us.
I
But
know,
when
same here, dude. I
when
know
when
exactly
they
what you
when
mean.
they when they
And these
basically
people
were
have
left,
nothing. They are
yeah,
dirt poor, and yet they're
and
trying to fucking feed us.
yeah. So when they were left out to dry, that's when I said, you know what, like
What
they
do we
don't give a
what are we
shit.
doing
Yeah,
here? What are we doing?
what is this for? And then you kind of start like you go down the rabbit hole. Whether
Yep.
it's probably not good for your mental health if you spend too much time in that hole. But that's when I basically said there's something else to this,
Okay.
and it's they're not they're they're withholding something.
Got you. So the three of us just identified something unilaterally, a problem. Okay. So we're all recognizing there's a problem. And there's layers to this again. Now, fast forward to what's going on today. When you both we just talked about programming. And now we're not joking around when we're talking about programming. I think it even started even earlier for us regarding 9/11, propaganda
Yeah,
being pumped into our head constantly. Talib's bad, Osama bad guy. They killed our families and our people. Have no thought, kill without remorse. That's all significant. Okay, it creates an energy and a form of military extremism, and it can be weaponized, and we're seeing that today. And I need to articulate this even more. I am not a racist person. You know, I come from a predominantly white area, but what happens in the Marine Corps is you're thrust into an environment of every color, every denomination, and you suffer together. And when you suffer together, colors drop, It's no longer colors, it's character. And that is what is important. I need to articulate that because I have no ill will to any race, denomination. I just think at the end of the day, we're all humans. Put out good energy, it comes back, and let's live our lives. Now, I say that to say this. What I'm trying to articulate and identify being when we say problem, there is someone else controlling what we think is our government, what we call America, what we refer to as freedom. There is someone on the strings. Now, who is that someone? We always talk about it, the they, the ever existing unidentified they, them, the person behind the curtain. Now, I think I've identified that finally, and I think it is a form of military extremism coming from years and years of paid programming that is the Jewish cabal slash Mossad, not the Jewish people. I have many Jewish friends.
You can say the state of Israel.
The deep
I think
state.
that's the cleanest. I think that's the cleanest way to say it. And
Okay.
I'll kind of cut you off here. Is the cleanest way to say it is a state thing. Now, like I said to you earlier, you can not trust the U.S. government, but you can still love your fellow American people.
Absolutely.
You cannot trust the Israeli government and still not be a anti-Jewish individual.
No. The catchword is anti-Semite. That's the catchword.
Anti-Semite. So like, yeah, kind of what you're saying is there's interests that the Israeli government has to influence America.
So hold on. Before we even go that far, see, I know you know this. I know Joey knows this, but this is not common knowledge. So let's back up, and we're going to start with the term military extremism. Where does this come?
Let's do military extremism and military industrial complex.
Absolutely.
Let's handcuff those two terms.
So let me first articulate, it's not just Jewish people. There's military extremism all over. Let's say the first time I learned about it was in Afghan. I was very close with an Afghan interpreter, and he told me there's a certain kind of Afghan that interprets the Quran a certain way, and it's viewed extreme. And it's the way they understand it is on a different level, the way they interpret it and take the sayings and the knowledge from it that is deemed, their everything in extreme ways. Jewish people, they have the Talmud, the Mossad, and we can even go as far as to say us as U.S. Marines, at a time when we were first invading Iraq, we did not give a fuck who was in front of us. They were getting laid down, and we were getting some get back for 9/11. That attitude, that idea, that flow state of who gives a fuck who it is, I'm putting them down, that is military extremism. Now, both of you, give me your opinions, give me your thoughts. Tell me what you think. Joey, you first.
Well, first, I just want to say that I don't necessarily agree or think that the Mossad is behind a lot of the things when we talk about manipulating the globe.
Okay.
We'll dive into the areas where I think they absolutely have immense influence. But I think that it is a less organized, competing environment of counter interest groups who are operating at that same level of fucking disgusting evil. But anyways,
let's try to stay away from who it is, and let's just stay on key terms. And give me just your interpretation of how you understand military extremism and how you feel about it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, though. I completely agree with what you're saying because I often always used to think to myself, man, if I was born out here in Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, I'd probably be wearing a suicide vest.
Yep, exactly.
So,
Absolutely. You see where it comes from,
yeah,
and yeah, absolutely. Bob, over to you.
ideologies.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've said it on this podcast before, I've said it to you, Nick, a lot of times. You can kill a lot of people. You can kill almost all the people. You can't kill an idea. You
Bam,
can't kill an idea.
bam.
You will never kill an idea. So, whether that idea is a religious idea, which is a big gallon of gas on the violence fire, whether
Absolutely.
it's a regional existential idea, whether it's a state trying to exist, whether it's a state trying to push its geopolitical idea, you can't kill an idea. You can assassinate everyone and anyone. You can carpet bomb a wedding. You can do whatever. You can't kill an idea. So yeah, I mean, there's so many different interests and controlling factors, whether it's woo woo fucking new world order or whether it's just basic geopolitical us against them. You can't kill an idea, and people's financial and geopolitical interests will drive things. And when I say people, I mean the government.
Yep, yep. And
9 times out of 10, the people, you, me, Joe, fucking the poor fucking goat herder, we all relatively agree and are kind of the same person. But when it comes to the people in charge, they're the ones swaying things. So
so absolutely everything you just said, well said. Now, I'm just trying to give examples of the topics we're talking about over like beyond comprehension for us so these people can understand what we're talking about. I'm still on military extremism. And another example, so when I was in Afghanistan, I forget which time, we were interrogating the guys we didn't kill. And our problem was these guys were so fucked up. When I'm saying fucked up, I mean on drugs. They couldn't
yeah,
even, they didn't even know what they were. They didn't even know what they did. And, we dug into that a little bit. And what was happening was the Taliban was recruiting very, very young. They were getting these guys hooked on heroin and poppies. They were filling their head full of, propaganda, ideology, whatever you want to call it. And they were turning these individuals into suicide bombers. Now, what is a suicide bomber? People don't understand that enough. Now, when it comes to a suicide bomber, yeah, you may be ignorant and think that that is just cowardly and all this, but to become an individual that will literally eviscerate themselves for a cause, you have to have a strong purpose, a strong, you know, hold over that person to control them and get them to do something like that. Um, and that's what they were doing. The Taliban was recruiting young, corrupting these individuals with drugs, pumping an idea into them, and creating suicide bombers. And I think that that is a form of extremism. And I think it's done across the globe. I think,
hey, and I'll tell you how it's done with us. They're recruited young,
damn,
so they get us with they get us with the feels. Hey, I'm only 33. I'm still a relatively young guy. I was very young for 9/11, but I had an uncle who was in the military during the Gulf War. I had a lot of exposure to it. I have a lot of friends, older friends, join the military. So I got recruited when I was young. I got hooked on something that wasn't drugs. It was rage. It was violence. It was hate. It was kill, 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 slay bodies. So I got addicted to something, and then I got pointed at the enemy.
at a direction.
And while the three of us might not wear a suicide vest, God damn it, if we're out of ammo, we're in a room and Mujahideen, Taliban, someone's about to come in the door. 9 times out of 10, we're probably going to prep a grenade and take them with us.
Perfectly said. And that is what I'm trying to
So
explain right now.
so that's a
Think about when we were over there, how we just did not give a fuck about, you know, and I say this to say because this is used as a tool. Bob just explained it perfectly. They got us young, they pumped us full of stuff, and they directed us in a direction at someone. This is weaponized military extremism. And, you know,
hell, hell, cigarette companies and the Catholic Church operate the same way too. Shit.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's targeted. And now, so we just explained extremism. I'm going to now explain why the Mossad is significant and what they are and why they're important. And I'm going to give you examples and explain what we're dealing with here. To me, the Mossad is the best intelligence agency in the world, and they're masters at utilizing disinformation and keywords to create chaos and a lot of dead people. And they're very, very effective. Now, examples that I have, or I don't know if you guys heard recently of the kickoff event in Iran, um, the targeted disinformation through, I think it will. I don't know if I'm not talking about the beeper event with the Hamas. I'm talking about the event that took out, I think, 6 to 10 of Iran's highest military generals.
Oh yeah, they
So
have guys on the
yeah,
ground on targets. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. So basically, they had a basically a counterintelligence operation where they lured a bunch of high value targets, HVTs, into one spot
They
with faulty
falsified
intelligence.
communications, which triggered Iran's top generals to an emergency meeting.
Okay,
Damn, I didn't
so
know that. That's gangster.
Right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Think
They
about
basic
that.
I
they
didn't
Think
know
about the
that.
planning. Think about the preparation that goes into that.
That's
That is
creepy.
terrifying.
That's
Okay.
scary.
I mean,
Like,
game recognized game
this is what
is
I'm saying
suspect.
here. Like, this is what I'm trying to explain, dude. These guys aren't fucking around. Okay. Like, this is planned. This is targeted to get that to happen. And even before that, dude, the Hamas beeper event, they took out a lot of people with their communication system that they were trying to use against Israel. Like,
Imagine your black gear on a patrol just
this is what I'm
blowing up in your
saying, dude.
fucking pocket.
I
Jesus.
This is who we're dealing with here. This is the Mossad. They
So
are absolutely the best at utilizing intel to fucking kick some fucking ass. Okay. Now,
I'll give you
So
guys. You want some insight to this really quickly?
please.
How are the Mossad so good? Because they're not Russia from the Cold War days with all that experience. You know, they're not like where was their subversive? They got massacred in the Holocaust, and then all of a sudden, what? Jews are badass. It's like, where did that happen? My experience with this comes from working with a company called Cellbrite, which is an Israeli technology company that specializes in data acquisition from mobile devices. And so ripping phones, basically.
yeah,
They're by far the global leader at it. And I've done some crazy in-depth work for these guys. In fact, they almost got me killed, which is the last time that I did a trip for them out in Sao Tome and Principe. I don't know if I told you that story, Nick, where I almost burned a hotel down full of people.
Jesus Christ.
But regardless, is that the Israelis are very integrated in telecommunications. They from the old data transfer devices when you used to have like an old phone, be like, oh, my numbers, I don't want to put them all in manually. Then the guy behind the Verizon counter is like, I got you, bro. And he pulls out
Yeah.
that big computer and
Yep.
he likes it. Come back in 2 hours,
Yep.
like, okay, sweet, 30 contacts transferred, 2 hours. That was Israeli company, Cellbrite. And what happened was as the technologies advanced for communications, which telecommunications is everything, fuck everything. Dude, I can tell you this right now, bro. If I got your phone and I plugged into it and I ripped it, password or not, doesn't matter. I could literally find everything out about you. We discovered an Al Shabaab terrorist network meeting location in Nairobi, Kenya, with the FBI Joint Task Force simply by going off of the SSIDs from the routers that they were pinging
Wow.
as they walked
oh,
down the street, lived their life, And in Nairobi, the tower, it wasn't as organized as it would be here in the States. You know, in the States, great triangulation. Out there, it's kind of like wonky. So we just sent a dude out there walking around the streets. Hey, picked up Muhammad's Cafe. What do you know, motherfucker? Like we could literally find out everything about you, everything.
That's wild.
And so that's it. That is it right there. They could do this at the global scale. They could hack in to a married man's Google because they're so integrated in telecommunications. They could hack in to your home security system, Google, while monitoring your search history for trans gay porn, and you're a married man with a family and kids. And at that exact same time that you're looking at that, they go to your home cameras, video record you jerking off while extracting all that data from you. Then you get a phone call getting blackmailed. That's how deep that goes.
Another
So
level.
All right,
Another
that's
looks like I gotta turn off a few cameras in my house.
yeah, no shit.
he's got like stickies over all of his cameras now.
Hey, love is love, man. But
What's up, buddy?
I mean, this is who we're dealing with, and this is what I'm trying to identify, dude. The Mossad is an absolute leader of intel, and listen, there's no listen, I don't even think anyone else is close. Um, and they've been doing this. Okay, so this is who we're dealing with here. Now we said a couple of keywords in all of that, and I think we need to articulate them a little bit more. And they're disinformation and keywords. How are they weaponized today? And how are they being used as weapons? So disinformation is weaponized disinformation is utilizing intel to trigger movement. Now, you know what, Joey, you said this earlier. What have we identified as the most powerful way to become powerful? The most powerful thing today is human souls, because
Emotion.
emotions, yes, yes,
Yeah.
because you can almost guide them with disinformation and keywords.
Well, you
If
could.
if you own media outlets, okay? So let's stick on disinformation. What we've heard that in the news. People, this has been pumped into us. What is disinformation? It's weaponized disinformation. It's utilizing intel to trigger movements of key figures to get them in range for targeted strikes. Okay? That is what I'm referring to. Now, what do you know?
so
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bobo.
so I'll say this: you're overqualifying it, Nick. You keep saying weaponized disinformation, weaponized disinformation. You don't need all of that fluff in there. Information is a weapon. Information is a weapon. There's no there's no weaponized. Information is the weapon. It's all about it's like food. It's all about presentation. All the ingredients exist no matter what. The weaponized disinformation isn't a thing. It's like I said, it's just information and it's presented, and we are making sure it's consumed in the way we want it consumed. So there's no diss about it. It's all the same information. It's we're just presenting it to the right audience at the right time in the right way for them to consume it the way we want them to for the produced effect.
But what if you can
So,
control that? So this is what.
oh yeah, no, all information is controlled. I mean, it's a modern society. All of it is controlled. Rewind back to the time where you had to send a fucking raven or a pigeon or a town crier. Even then, the information is controlled. All information is controlled. There's no such thing as non-controlled information. So
This is what I'm trying to explain. Okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
Joe.
I'll break down the science behind all this. And then if I jump off randomly, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
because
fine. It's fine.
I said all my kids were going to wake up, and
You're good. You're
yeah.
good.
So
Don't worry
anyways,
about
how does the science behind this work? So let's start off with the brain. Harvard did a study a few years back, and you can look up the results to all this and verify it. But what they did was the following: they had some actors, and they rehearsed this to the point where it was absolutely as skidded out as it could be. Harvard actors, they're taking it serious, right? And what they would do is they would follow people around a strip mall, and they would go up to that person, the first actor would, with a cup of coffee, walking and just say, "Excuse me, can you hold this for a second?" Go down, tie their shoe, because the person would instinctively just always grab the cup of coffee. They would tie their shoe really quick. They say, "Thank you so much." And then they'd leave. That's it. That's the only interaction. Then, about 25 minutes later, a second set of actors would come up and say, "Hey, excuse me, man. For $20, can I get 5 minutes of your time? We're doing a movie script thing, and I want to get your opinion on it." "Yeah, sure. I'll read a movie script." So they would read this paragraph. Here's the thing. The study, the variable was a warm cup of coffee versus a cold cup of coffee, because we're
Wow.
talking about the ability to influence and condition a human being. 86% with like a couple variable for error said when they held the warm cup of coffee, they described the protagonist, the exact same paragraph as read between all people, as warm and inviting. The
Wow.
people who held the cold cup of coffee described the protagonist 86% as shallow and selfish and narcissistic.
Wow.
So if holding the temperature of a cup of coffee that you hold for literally the flash of a moment spontaneously throughout your day is that strong to where it could influence your perception
That's
of
great.
something that's being described to you, to them, to the next person, what does that mean about everything else conditionally creating us in our environments? Now, the so that's essentially how internally we can become influenced and conditioned. And now what's happening is with all these varying organizations, or at least this is how I see things, and sure, I'm totally unqualified to even talk about this shit, and
These are just our
somebody
opinions. Yeah,
probably
absolutely.
just tell me I'm an idiot, whatever. Um, but it's that easy. So these major companies who want these major types of influence, these governments, these control groups, these lobbyists, everybody is vying to use these types of terms and words and phrases. They're always trying to find the
Bingo.
best one based off of the energy
Keywords.
that's being
Words.
projected,
Yes, absolutely.
because that creates a trigger.
Hmm.
And when it creates that trigger, a subconscious habit then therefore becomes formed, because you don't even realize you're being conditioned all day long to believe a certain thing. The
Pavlovian,
buffalo,
Pavlov.
the
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Pavlovian conditioning. Um, the Buffalo Walmart shooter guy, or the grocery store racist dude who went in the store and shot everybody up and live streamed it. In his
Yeah.
conviction, in his sentencing trial or date, he said, "I'm so sorry." He goes, "I have no idea what happened. I was just searching the internet, and before I knew it, 2 years went by, and I was a radical white dude, and I regret it now for the rest of my life." And I was like, "That's so powerful." And so people have to understand that the search algorithms in your mobile device are literally reflective of these avatars that are existing of you out there in the world, which are designed to predict what your next movements are going to be. They know everything. They know when you zoom in on your freaking sister-in-law's tits or whatever. They know exactly when you go and check your ex-boyfriend's Facebook page and what pictures you happen to stop on and what pictures you happen to just blow past. They know all this stuff. And so imagine how easy you are to control if there is a team of dedicated people who are literally their only sole purpose in life is to collect data, put it together on you, use AI, and then find out what they want you to do next. Like the Trump shooter, if you ask me.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that was a great, great explanation. And some examples of these keywords, for instance, terrorism, freedom, racist, homophobia, anti-Semitist, conspiracy theorist. What are these doing? For example, a conspiracy theorist, that's discrediting. You hear that about information, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe this isn't the right information. Maybe it's lies. Maybe I can't trust it.
Yeah.
It is a cause and effect, and there's chain of events that are predictable. That is
They're trying to write you off as the kooky cousin or kooky uncle at the Thanksgiving dinner who's just rambling on, which I mean, that exists. Let's be
so
honest.
okay. So I mean, we're admitting it exists. I think that's the first step. If it does exist, could it be manipulated?
Yeah. Well, it's manipulated because it exists.
Absolutely.
It's you're only going to utilize or weaponize something that is plausible. You're not going to say, "Oh, well, Uncle Uncle Joey at Thanksgiving dinner is actually a, a fifth dimensional alien traveling across planes, and
Yep, yep.
he's only here on Thanksgiving. Well, those are wooey conversations for another podcast, but like, or you can say the believable thing. Oh, he's just a kooky conspiracy theorist. Okay, well that's believable. Let's write it off. So
Perfect example. So
yeah.
my next two ones were controlled media and Jeffrey Epstein. But I think I need to bring Jeffrey Epstein in first to explain controlled media. Now, Jeffrey Epstein, why is he still relevant? What is he really? You
He had
know,
a really nice smile.
he does. He does. And you know what? No one understands why he's relevant. No one understands what he really is. And to me, what he is he's a planted Mossad blackmail agent that is also a targeter. What is he targeting? Politics. Okay. What does that all mean? So, what do we know about Jeffrey Epstein? He was caught in a child trafficking ring and he was manipulating politicians via recorded sex tapes through child
You can just say
trafficking.
blackmail. You just say blackmail.
Blackmail. Yeah, exactly.
Blackmail. Generic blackmail,
And
regardless of the context.
and he was targeting politics. So he was inserting these people into politics whilst blackmailing him, which got him control over the political spectrum. Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Israeli control politics. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I think it's plausible. I don't know, I just don't know because I don't know. I think that there are people in this world who love trafficking little kids, and maybe perhaps the Mossad realized at some point after he met Colleen, because I know her father was a Mossad dude, and this is what I'm talking about, where it's so opportunistic and it's not necessarily like the most collaborative, like unified effort. It's just all these like evil factions with like their own intentions. And sometimes they're not even evil factions. Let's be real. Good people like us dive into the void of absolute fucking insanity and darkness in hopes that we could have some sort of a positive effect on that. And sometimes we don't, because it fucking goes wrong. You get shot in the fucking face, and that rescue mission that you were trying to perform just went out the door and the girl got fucking raped. So I think that it's possible that they saw it as an opportunity and swayed it and then used them. But people have been blackmailing people like that for the longest time. I just think that the most heinous version of it is what you see with, people like Epstein and Clinton.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just so crazy.
What do you think, Bobo?
I mean, yeah, that's really it. It's an opportunist. It's an opportunistic. Um, it's not a plant. I wouldn't say it's a plant. I would say it was, hey, this fits what we're trying to do. Let's manipulate it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, like
Um,
maybe he was trafficking kids because of another reason, and then kind of just like worked his way up into that type of a realm to where it drew the attention of
exactly.
certain
A
people.
a-
Yeah,
a
that's
hundred
what I could
percent.
see.
Like it doesn't have to. Not everything has to happen at the ground floor. It can be just a shitty dark thing that someone saw an opportunity to exploit. Like that's the biggest thing. Like not everything is this. You're either God or the devil. A lot of things are these gray areas that serve either side, the good or the bad. So, um, yeah, as far as Epstein goes, that's pretty much it. I think he was just a monster that someone found a purpose to use. 100%, yeah, and he was exploited by. He could have been exploited by Mossad. He could have been exploited by just generic bad people in the U.S. So
I
I'm
I think
not.
it's
I'm not.
crazy that I think it's crazy that chick just smoked herself, got
yeah.
fucking murdered in front of the world, and nobody even did anything.
Yeah,
Explain that a little bit. Explain that a little bit.
The one witness who came out against Epstein and Maxwell, and she literally said, "I will never kill myself. They're coming for me," which makes sense because everybody's killing themselves. And then she gets hit by a bus somehow.
Whoops.
We never even got the full story on that.
Whoops.
And then all
Final
of a sudden,
Destination shit.
and then a week later, she offs herself. It's like,
And you guys
I
are going to hate
cannot
me for
believe.
this, and you're going to disagree with me, but the FBI, the CIA, they're all targeted. They're all controlled. They're all controlled by the Mossad, bro.
Well, what's interesting is all of a sudden, and this happens, and it's like Patel and Bajino going up in there saying all this stuff. It's like, okay, cool, man. Well, you're about to see like what's unveiled behind the curtain.
And that's why it's
And
that's why it stops once they get it seated, bro. That's why
and
all the
and
stuff they were saying they can't do. Now, we just identified Jeffrey Epstein as a possible, he was
A problem.
possibly weaponized by someone or put in a position to target politics. I think there's a Jeffrey Epstein for every thing, powerful spectrum in the United States: politics,
oh,
Hollywood,
absolutely.
news media, education, military, CIA, FBI, police, banks, healthcare. I think they all have a Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, fucking Nick. I'm about to upset you a little bit, but
Please.
what the fuck is The Sopranos?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's people giving an envelope to a local fucking alderman, a local fucking politician to say, hey, maybe you don't come after us. Maybe you sweeten the pot. I mean, it's as small as, hey, I gave you $30,000. Maybe you let us win the bid on this restaurant on the corner over the guy who probably deserved it. It's as simple and small as that, and as large as nuclear implications in the global stage.
Okay. So I need to get you to really understand what we're acknowledging right now. And most veterans know this. America is controlled by Israel. Period.
I don't
Two
know.
things.
What makes you draw that
We
conclusion?
just articulated that politics, Hollywood, news media, military, CIA, FBI has a handler or has someone that's inserted. IPAC. Uh,
I'll give you a pushback, but also an acknowledgement.
okay.
There is a heavy hand on the scale, a
That's what I
heavy
would say.
a heavy
No
Israeli
matter what.
government is heavy Israeli government hand on the scale.
Mm,
There's an even heavier hand on that scale that we've talked about before, that is the military industrial complex. We don't give a fuck who the missiles fly at, they need to fly. So whether it's flying at the Russian forces in Ukraine, whether it's flying at Taliban people when we're fighting a 20-year war, whether it's fighting one of the two Iraq wars, whether it's fighting against Vietnam, whether we're buying Agent Orange to douse Laos,
mm.
whether we're carpet bombing Laos, it doesn't matter. The
Now,
military industrial
most of the
complex.
military industrial complex, though, is who is this funded by? Usually, the face is an ex-politician
Oh, 100%.
who is funded who is funded by IPAC. This is controlled by Israel. All of it.
A lot of times, yes, and I'll agree with you. A lot of times, that hand is on the scale, but man, you don't need is an Israeli influence to be a greedy, self-serving bastard. So
That's
I'll
true.
say I will say that scale has a lot of hands on it, and some of them, a lot of them are in Mossadic Israeli. I mean, it's all geopolitical and it's all financial. So the
Okay.
financial thing is all the military industrial complex. The geopolitical is that. So like I was saying before, Saudi Arabia, their legitimacy is challenged by Iran. They are a kingdom. They're a monarchy. Monarchies don't fit
Exactly.
um, the caliphate. They don't fit the religious Muslim thing that Iran has, that Afghanistan has, that ISIS has. That's why Saudi Arabia remains a staunch ally of ours in the area and a
Well, why have all
generic
these
ally.
Muslim countries been targeted, bro? Think about it. Think about all of them that have been targeted: Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, now Iran,
Well,
now
all of those targeted countries
because of
threaten
what you just
Israel.
said.
They threaten Israel,
Exactly.
or they threaten someone who has an ulterior motive, like a kingdom, like Jordan, their kingdom, like Saud. They're a kingdom. They, you know,
So I
that's why
want you guys.
Saudi Arabia.
Go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. Please finish.
Yeah, it's all like I don't only ever want to like point the finger at just Israel because while they have a heavy hand on the scale, there's a lot of room on that scale for a lot of hands. So that's why I'm saying it's not Israel has a big influence in the area. Anyone who's an Islamic caliphate sympathizer is going to want them out. So they want those oppositions out. So when it comes to people like Saud, who are a direct or indirect ally of Israel, they're going to be against people like Iran. So
Okay.
it's not just wooey woo cell phone pager bombs and like Mossad ninja shit. It really is a big portion of geopolitical influence of, well, our our legitimacy is compromised by their legitimacy.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the Ayatollah in Saudi, I don't know.
I hear
Saudi
you. I
Arabia
hear you.
is a heavier hitter than Iran will ever than they will ever be. So
And that's another perspective, and I needed that.
yeah,
Go ahead, Joe.
So let's kind of like take all this back to the start here really quick if we could kind of maybe quickly try to
Yep, please.
see what's happening here. World War II happens, right? World War II is over, all sorts of shit's just broken apart the last like 50 years. Biggest Ottoman Empire, all this shit, fucking Byzantines. So now we're post World War II. Middle East is all fucking fractured up into what? Modern colonialization. That's why it's so fucked up these days. In fact, people wanted it at that time, post World War II, when we started to rebuild Europe. Think of it from like a business model perspective. Holy shit. People wonder why United States is the world dominating power because we literally built up all of Europe. And
yeah,
that's like trillions and trillions of dollars. And they relied on us and it gave us opportunities and advantages, all sorts of things. Great business model. So when we're fractioning up the Middle East, well, who cares if we're splitting up all these tribes and we're making them now share land and they're going to be conflicting with one another? Because
Now you're
guess
talking.
what?
Yeah.
Whenever we need to build up a new city again or a new country, all these motherfuckers will be killing each other, or we'll just come in and kill them, right? Because we're the world police now. We're the United States. We're never letting go of this business model. The CIA creates the economic hitman program where they go into a nation, they identify some sort of economic shortfall, and then they offer them the opportunity to fix it while we're allies with Saudi Arabia, which I think is probably one of the most evil countries in the world. That's just my own personal opinion. I have
yeah.
no, actually, I probably shouldn't even say that because I've never been there, but they give me a weird feeling. Anyways, my feelings don't
Same
matter.
here.
No,
But
your feelings do matter here, and that's the whole
Yeah.
purpose of this
Yeah.
podcast is
Yep. Our
is like
opinions.
it's literally an Islamic monarchy, and those are two
yeah, they do
very
some
touchy
creepy shit.
subjects around here.
They are.
They do some creepy shit. But before I lose this train of thought, is that
No, go.
when we went, the Saudis wouldn't remove their own trash because it was below them. So the United States CIA went in there, said, "Hey, we'll create a trash waste program for you. We'll lend you a bunch of money, but here's the catch, because this is before they found oil, right? Here's the catch: you have to hire American companies. So I'm going to give you hundreds of millions of dollars, but hey, the only way you could spend this is if you pay me with it, and then you still have to pay me back all the money that I spent to you."
We need the
And
bids. Yep.
and so you look at all the nations who use the central bank currency, United States currency throughout the world, what happens is that they're in some form of indebtedness. Now, Saudi's unique because, they obviously are like crazy trillionaires,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, like the allies, the relationships have been built and established. And so now we're looking at ourselves to be like, okay, well, what can we do to keep war propagating and conflict moving forward? Now we got a war over in Russia and Ukraine. Now, well, first we have 9/11, right? Because that's like really the big one. Because there's that period of peace where we are focusing on U.S. economic development, which was like awesome. And then you see the rise of a company like BlackRock. And
Yes.
then you see people like Soros, who I don't know if you guys know a lot about Soros, but his whole career has been about going against the markets. And so if you have the ability, like you get way richer when you bet against the economy and it goes your way. You
Yep.
get
Yeah,
infinitely richer. So if you could influence global events to negatively go against to just crash an economy all of a sudden, and you're the only one betting against it, and that's literally what his whole philosophy is is bet on the chaos. Like that's like what he
That
said
he
many
that
many
he that he
times.
controls.
And now he's in in the place where he can control it, has controlled it for a period of time. Money, again, other organizations as well. But when you convert a country to NATO, like Ukraine, why the fuck we want Ukraine to NATO? because then they have to convert their weapon systems.
Yep. We get the bids.
So conversation should never even happen. Oh, guess what? Russia attacked them. Great. We're going to make even more money
Perfect.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Constant
And,
war.
and so
Yeah.
let's look at the last thing here. Sorry, I'll just finish up
No,
with
go,
this.
go.
The Ben Gurion Canal over in the Middle East,
Perfect.
which literally opens up into whatever sea that is, Mediterranean.
Euphrates.
Right where no, not the Euphrates, but the Mediterranean Sea. The Ben Gurion Canal would be created by man and literally go into the sea right where Gaza's at. Like Gaza is literally right in the middle of the big plan. Look it up. The Ben Gurion Canal. Ben Gurion was the first Israeli
This is
leader
why Gaza's
after
leveled
World
now,
War II.
bros. This is why Gaza.
And when you look at the Suez Canal, it could only go one direction. One direction. And then for half the day, they then shut it down. And then now ships can go the other way. And you have to pay a bunch of money over to Egypt, which fuck that. So why not create the circumstances from a business perspective? They're fighting, blah, 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 money, money, money. They're fighting, blah, blah, blah. They're fighting again. Cool, awesome. Well, now let's just level this whole thing out. Let's build this canal that's literally going to be the greatest. And this is where my point is for economic business mindset and development. The greatest economic development creation in the history of mankind. I want to say this again. The creation of this canal, which could go both ways through Israel, owned by the United States and Israel, will be the single greatest economic thing that's ever generated money and cash flow ever in the history of mankind. You own the world. You own the world.
Damn.
China who, motherfucker? We fucking iced those guys.
Well,
We bought all their farming.
That undermines their Belt and Road Initiative.
Oh, 100%. The Belt and Road's got nothing on this. Nothing on this. Because the whole world's global trade goes through this area.
That's chopped liver. Yeah.
So my point to all this is that you can't approach this stuff from a human perspective. You have to detach yourself and look at it as a businessman. And you really have to ask yourself a tough question. Like, let me ask you, if you were the president and you had the opportunity to create the single greatest economic fucking generator ever in the history of mankind for your people, your nation, to secure their place in history, their safety, but cause and effect,
I know.
a lot of people
damned
have
if you
to
don't.
fucking die. A
Yeah.
lot of people have to die.
But you do a little bit of genocide, just a little.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, dude.
You're telling me the Israelis didn't
Just
know
a
October
pinch.
7th was coming? Like, that's the
The
biggest
greatest
fucking
intel
joke.
organization in the world couldn't tell some hang gliders were coming in through their golden. Come on,
But yet
guys.
they know how to get the Iranian top
Come on.
8 generals to meet
Come
in a
on.
secret
That's what I'm saying.
location with grid coordinates, like in the middle of Iran, so they could fucking bomb their ass. Like,
Now, hey, we didn't explain what false flags are. That's something that's significant here. That's what we're talking about. False flag events. Now, this
WMDs.
Let's be fair before we go down the false flag rabbit hole. Let's go down we knew it might have been coming, but we just kind of allowed it rabbit hole.
It's exactly right. These things
it's a false flag, and then it's like the elliptic false flag.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
it's not acting on known intel. It's classified as incompetence. That's how it's
kind of like the 9/11 thing, where I personally subscribe to. They didn't do 9/11, but they.
But even if we're admitting that, even if we're going as far to admit that, dude, that's a false flag targeted event meant to influence trends. That's planned.
Exactly. While they were like, hey, we, incompetence or whatever allowed it to happen for the military industrial complex. Same thing with the October 7th Hamas attack. Hey, we know it's going to happen. We're not, they could have shot those fucking hang gliders out of the sky with a goddamn shotgun, let alone like a fucking salmon.
Now, I need to articulate. Whenever we get to this point, this shit is hard to stomach. It's hard to talk about. It's not comfortable. It's negative. It's
because we all lost friends over shit.
This is what I mean. We start thinking about the guys that didn't come back. We don't want to do it. We don't want to talk about it. But listen, what we've already articulated to this point, it's a problem, guys. Like, we're talking about You know what I'm talking about. We articulated it, and I don't
Yeah.
think we're giving it enough credibility. And we explain it as, I have a 9 to 5, I have a family, I have a life. I can't just have negativity surrounded myself all the time because it's going to affect my day to day. I understand that.
Yeah,
I get
well,
that.
Yeah.
I
No, it's a
I
big thing. So I think a big thing you're trying to get by is like, yeah, like, what can I do about it?
that's
Also, a big thing for me, I habitually don't vote left or right. I can't. I sit here and I go, okay,
I wonder why.
yeah, neither one of them are, I can't really get behind one of them. And I look at the third party, and the third party tends to
No, we're
disappoint me
forced to
too.
look at the lesser evil.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing. I'm habitually sitting here like, all right, well, each side is saying, I'm not going to get us in a forever war. I'm not going to contribute and perpetuate the military industrial complex. And all that side does is do exactly the same thing with a different flavor. The left does the same thing, but oh, we want to be nice. Oh, we're caring about your feelings. And the right side says, oh, we don't want to do that, but like, fuck them for XYZ reason. And
but it's also
Rash,
hard to not get into a war when the whole world is trying to literally start. Imagine if you're at school and everybody's just picking on you all fucking day long, and you're like, dude, I don't want to fight. And then people just keep coming up and fighting and wanting to fight. It's like, fuck, dude, eventually I got to throw a fucking punch.
I hear you. I hear you.
You
well,
know,
yeah,
it's like,
and you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
but like each each side says they're not going to do it. Each side says they're better than that.
Pros,
And when it,
listen, it's deeper than that. It's both sides are controlled. It's the same person. It's the same thing. And we can
Yeah.
see that even more in today. Like I'm worked up about it is it's because I can identify it. I see it
yeah,
both sides. They're showing the same flag. I just saw
But
today.
here's the thing though, man. Here's the thing what you just said right there, and I'll kind of keep, bringing it back to this, at least from my perspective, is that when you allow a September 11th to happen, what did the entire nation do?
Unified behind a
There
and
was
work together.
the biggest emotional reaction. So it's such a big emotional reaction. We went to war with fucking the world for the last 25 years, and it'll probably never stop now.
Yep.
yeah,
How do you control the center of gravity in asymmetrical warfare? Because in asymmetrical warfare, the center of gravity is what the population, you control the emotions. As human beings, we receive information to the emotional center of the brain 2 times faster than anywhere else. Everything you perceive goes to the emotional center first. And so if I could influence your emotions, I can control you.
And
Miyamoto Musashi said that quote that I sent you earlier,
yep.
where was something along the lines of, an angry man is like a dull blade,
Yep.
basically, because you're just always getting swung all over the place and fucking you just wear yourself down. Like there's no sharpness to
An
you.
enemy who controls your emotions controls your blade.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if they get you angry, you go swing, and that's how he built, or that's how he beat Sasaki Kojiro, Miyamoto Musashi, and Sasaki Kojiro's one of the most historic Japanese duel ever back in the fucking 1400s, dude.
Regardless, we're so deep right now already. The average human civilian is nowhere near this understanding, okay? And that's why politics is the game that it is. That's why it leaves a bad taste in our mouth and we don't get involved. And I think these things need to change, okay? And I think we're all at the same somewhat level of understanding. We argue, we scrum over the details, over the little things, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, all of us don't like talking about politics. We don't like talking about what we're talking about right now because it reminds us that we were used overseas, our friends died, and it was all for nothing. So
so here's a good way to kind of explain that to people. It There's like 6 or 7 different reasons why people should be on board. Whether you believe fucking there's a evil Jew with fucking, strings, whether you believe it's truly Smedley Butler who said the military industrial
there's a
complex
racket.
rules all, whether it's the New World Order, whether it's George Soros, whether it's all of them in cahoots, whether it's just selfish world leaders acting on a whim. We're the pawns. We're the expendable pawns, and we're sick of it.
Well,
We
what
don't.
question do we come to, Bobo, at the end of all this? What can we do? We
Yeah.
just articulated how all these admins and all these groups in America are controlled. What is the last group that is not controllable at all? It's not swayed. We're at each other's necks. I'm telling you, it's veterans. Now, someone that I hold dear and that I listen to called me insane for thinking that. How can you how can you think that that's idealistic? How can you think that you can control veterans just by the fact that we're veterans? Hey, it worked during the GWAT, guys. Listen, at one point, I was proud as fuck. I would bite your neck off if you told me half the shit I just said. I thought what we were doing was fucking God's work over there, bro. The best feeling in the world was working in symbiosis in a flow state with my brothers that I knew would take a bullet for me. If we can somehow, I don't know how, I don't have all the answers, Sway, but somehow get behind each other on this in some form, that's a win, dude. Okay, so that's all I'm trying to do here. That's it.
Cancer works both ways.
That's
Um,
that's true.
whether it's a cancer killing you or whether you're the cancer killing the thing that needs to be killed. So it doesn't happen with a snap of a finger.
True.
It just happens with conversation.
Which
Well, I think that raises a pretty interesting point. Can you kill an idea?
You can't.
Well, let me kind of clarify. Nick was willing to bite somebody's neck off for saying the things that he now believes and said. So if the idea is dead inside of Nick, maybe you just need to do that on a mass scale.
boom.
So you didn't kill an idea. So let's use some more metaphors. Nick, you're the metaphor. Nick, you're a garden. I'm a gardener. I'm a green thumb. I love
I think you
gardening.
can guide it. I think
No, yeah, well, that's exactly it. I'm a gardener. I'm a green thumb. I love growing things. You can guide the garden. I can allow the weeds to choke out my garden, or I can allow the plants that need to be there, the beneficial supportive plants to grow. I can guide this garden.
I think the way that we guide it is reminding each other why we joined in the first place, reminding each other the boys we lost over there, and reminding each other at one time we loved this country and we took it seriously.
The same, and it's the same thing with our enemies. Just because you can't kill their idea doesn't mean you can't grow and influence their idea. You can cultivate. You can't kill an idea, but you can cultivate them. I guess that's, if I had a parting wisdom on this world, that would be it. You can't kill an idea, but you can't cultivate one.
Oh yeah, I might have to think about that, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's I truly believe that I mean, right now, obviously it's hard to say because all I see veterans in is the comments arguing over who earned a car the right way or who went on enough deployments. But I think that if this information is presented in the right way, it could possibly light the right fire that needs to. And this maybe I'm obtuse right now. Maybe I'm off, but I've thought about this and overthought about this so much because I always get to the point with the person I'm talking to is what can I do? Everything's controlled. If it's all controlled, what the fuck can I do? What's the last thing that's uncontrolled? It's us. We're all over
the idea. It's the idea.
Yeah.
It's the soil. We're back to the gardening metaphor. We're the soil. The soil is going to grow things no matter what. It will always grow something. Now, you can salt the soil by fucking carpet bombing it, or you can guide what grows in that soil. And
Well, I think this brings up a really great point, man. I mean, an amazing point that I live my life by now, and that is you're absolutely right. Your mind is the garden, it's the soil, whatever thoughts you have. are the seeds that you're planting into your mind, because your thoughts will affect your emotions, and your emotions will then therefore drive your behaviors, and your behaviors will then therefore create the quality of your life that you have around you. And so if you're worried about the world falling apart, then be the best version of you that you could ever possibly be. And if you're worried about the world falling apart, then obviously the best version of you that you could ever possibly be is the version of you that's capable of fucking thriving when that shit falls apart. So fucking go
Correct.
do it. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking to myself. This is how I talk to myself. And if it is, not falling apart, well, guess what? You're going to be a fucking jacked, ripped, fucking badass shooting fucking motherfucker who's probably making a lot of money because you fucking crush shit at everything that you do in this life. And your family's probably provided for, and you probably got a fucking plan. It's like you don't have to then worry about anything. And if there's a nuclear war, yeah, that fucking would suck, man. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'd be dead. No, of course I don't want that to happen. But I'm not worried about that happening because I don't think anybody benefits from that. And it would be complete annihilation. And maybe in 100 years when we can colonize other planets or whatever, and Elon Musk is a trillionaire, which is going to be insane. Maybe that'll happen then. But for now, it's important that the energy that you spread throughout your home is one that you cultivate from within by doing the things that you know you should be doing, which is in alignment with the greatest version of you that you could ever imagine being. Do not poison your thoughts. Do not poison your garden with over concern and anxiety and fucking stress and divert your attention. That's the devil working against you to fucking keep you distracted from the things that are going to make you great in this life. And you have to be conscious of that and aware of that. That's the first step. And
Most
then we
definitely.
could have an entire another episode about like fighting against it,
Where to
because
go
that
from
should never
there.
stop.
No, that's good that you say that. Like honestly, so between me saying the soil, you saying what you planted it, it's funny. So like my wife, she's a left leaning person, and she doesn't really worry about social political things as much as the three of us do. But like when all this stuff happens, whether it's the invasion of Ukraine, everything, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And my baseline that I go back to is our three kids. I just like, let's raise three good kids.
Yeah.
Let's raise
Yeah.
three good people. If at the very least, if at the bare minimum, if I don't, Nick says like, hey, like, the big thing about veterans is saying, well, what the fuck can I do?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm the greatest example. I work a fucking trade
Facts.
job. I'm
Facts.
dog shit busy with three kids. I have a wife. I have a house I'm trying to maintain. I don't have a whole lot of extra energy and time to give to this universe. Fuck, even to myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
But what I can offer this world is that I'm going to raise empathetic, loving, caring, good kids
So
that will hopefully help contribute to this world being a little better, even just a tiny bit.
And you
So
can't fake that shit either. And I like that this is our first time meeting, Bob, because I know you're a genuine, I can tell you're a genuine person. I feel it coming off you, man. But you can't fake that. Like if you're gonna try to act one way in front of your kids and then go watch a bunch of fucking weird like porno or weird fucking videos like in the back room, it's like that's not fucking truth, man. You're putting out fucking bad energy to your fucking little kids, and they're gonna pick up on that shit. And that's what's going to program them to have those same sadistic behaviors that get passed down from generation to generation. But yeah, man, it's truth, man. You got to live in truth, and it always resorts back to the self. World could be burning the fuck down. Honestly, yeah, that would suck, and I really hope that never happens. I love my life. I love where it's going. I love the world. I love people. There's so much beauty in all of this. But if the world burned down, I'm gonna be the person that people are trying to find so that they can get help. I'm not gonna be looking to
that's the best
anybody
thing
for
we can
help.
do. That's the best thing we can
Yeah,
do.
it
And I think
boils down to be the light.
I think
yeah,
we can put a
yeah,
book, I think we can put a bookmark it right in there, guys. I
Be
think
the
yeah. I
light.
gotta go. My kids are up. Yeah, they're
I think I
screaming.
think what we can pull out of this, dude, great episode. Be the best we can be. Try to set the example and take it from there. But I think this is a great start. And at the very least, guys, whoever's watching this, keep an open mind. Research, do your own research, look into what we're talking about, make your own opinion, and keep this conversation going. Hard to kill, charged up, episode 200. Joe Malone, Bobo, Nick, signing off, guys. Semper Fi.